Hello and thank you for joining me. TrailTrek here in the dark as usual. Right, what am I looking at today? These are the first thoughts, if I can just talk whilst the moth tries to enter my mouth there, which is rather nice. There it is, there's the moth going away there. So if I can move on rapidly from moths, we are looking at I'll put it that way, it's a bit more sensible, the Nitecore HC65 UHE. Now remember I did a review of the HC65, it was just called the HC65, not V1, but at the time it became the V1 because the V2 came out. Excellent. It's using the old Cree emitters, and I'll show you that in a moment. Excellent. It still works today. Beautiful piece of kit. The elastic band is for the head is maybe become a little slack, but other than that, excellent piece of kit. Still works. About 1,000 lumens. And then they upgraded that to the V2, and I'll explain that whilst I quickly show you this in a little bit of detail here. So this is done in 4K here, so you can get a good look at it. They did the V2 of the HC65, which I loved again and I use regularly. I've actually got that on my head now. That's what's illuminating this. And that was a TIR setup rather than the multiple heads. And this one's another sort of strange system. They're calling this matrix, multifaceted. And you can see there's multiple emitters there. So you've got the main ones there. So 2, 4, 6, 8, you see them there? They are the main ones, and they've got like a sort of a frosted bit in the middle and then a faceted TIR setup and then almost like a crystalline structure of this. It's rather interesting. And then can you see here, now I'm doing this one-handed, so can you see above my thumb on the left and above my thumb there, they are secondary emitters. Now what they allow you to do is you've got your 6000K main emitters, and then you have your 4500 Kelvin, in other words neutral, so as opposed to the white on the main beam, and that's a high CRI. They are claiming greater than 90% on the CRI index. In other words, for those who don't know, I mean, and most people on the channel do, CRI is a colour rendering index, so 100% for sunlight. The lower it is, the more unpleasant it can look, but you've got those emitters there, and you also have a red light mode, and 2 of them, because on some lights, and a lot of lights are guilty of this, you'll have the red light mode, which isn't powerful enough to walk by, and that annoys me. So at least there's 2 modes on this one. So let's turn this out. In fact, no, I'll give you a quick guide on this. So on this end you have it says IP68, and under that flap is your Type C charging. And then on this end is your battery compartment. It's a 18650 lithium ion. Comes with it, and it's 4000 milliamp hours, which is great, even though it's 10 amps, which is pretty good. And if you study the manual in any detail, you will notice in the fine print it says if you want to use turbo on this, it's got to be greater than 8 amps. So just bear that in mind if you're going to use your own cells. You should be able to use any 18650. However, I have not tested flat tops, so take what I'm saying with a pinch of salt. I don't know if that would work on a flat top, but I will be testing that in the full review because these are my initial thoughts. I've only used this maybe 3 times now. So 18650, so it's pretty light, and you can adjust this. This is articulated, so bang, bang, bang. You can take that to anything. I was worried, this is actually quite loose, and I was a bit worried, but it's not. And I've tried jumping up and down and jiggling, and I ran up and down yesterday up on the trail here, and it didn't move, so it's fine, it's fine. I was a bit worried it wouldn't stay put, but it does. You have 2 modes there, so you've got your main power button and then your mode button, and you can feel that in the dark. That's textured, that isn't. I'm glad they did that. They could probably make a bit more differentiation by maybe hollowing that out and not putting the word mode on, because no one's looking at that anyway. But nice piece of kit, well made, metal, so aluminum construction, and you've got your triple emitters there. So, and when I say that, I'm talking about your main beams, your 2 auxiliaries, and your red light. So pretty cool. And let's talk about the name. So you had your HC65, and then you had the HC65 V2, which went to a TIR setup. You still also had your high CRI, auxiliary, and your red light mode. Same as this, but this does it a different way. So what's UHE? It's not a type of milk like UHT. UHE just stands for ultra high efficiency. So what are they trying to claim here? So what's Nitecore saying here? They're saying, well, look, in our last setups we were using, so back in the day they were using Cree emitters, which were great, nothing wrong with Cree emitters, XMLs and things like that. And then they upgraded when they went to the V2. They thought, right, we'll use the SST40s. Again, a great emitter, the luminous SST40s, beautiful. Now they're using their own. Now I thought, have they done that to just try and save a bit of money, like how Samsung will use the Exynos CPUs to try and save money over using a Snapdragon or something like that. I don't think that's what they've done, because looking at their claims, not my claims, their claims on their website, the efficiency does seem quite high. So it's using, you know, you're getting more bang for buck. Basically, it is, these LEDs are more efficient, and they seem to be, because I couldn't see a step down on this. So if you put this on turbo, which is 2000, and we'll go through those in a moment. I'm waffling a lot here, but I want to give you as much information as I can in a short period of time. They are saying 2000, I think you get about 2 hours with 2000 lumens on this. Well, that's pretty impressive. And I didn't notice any step down, but I will be testing that, obviously, looking for that. And they're claiming it. I mean, when you look at the percentage increases in efficiency, you've got between sort of like, it's around the 10%, 15% mark. It's not massive, but it's welcome. If you're out camping and your cell's running low, or you want longer run times, this is where you want to be. And pretty impressively, I mean, it's getting these long run times and high output, and it's not a 21700, which tend to be heavier and bigger. So this is relatively sort of lightweight. So looking at this IP68, it has a 2 meter drop rating. Price, I'll have to have a proper look at, because Disclosure Nitecore did send this to me. They said, TrailTrek, this is right up your street. You are the person for the job. You know, you're trustworthy and you always do an honest review. And I says, right, I'll do the same with this. So, and I'll do this when I do the full review, and this is honest as well. So they claim to have widened on their own literature, they claim to have widened this headband. It is slightly wider, a little bit. I never had a problem with any of the previous ones thinking they weren't wide enough, but okay, that gives you a greater surface area, so more comfortable. And it's like that waffle design. Can you see my thumb through there? So you can actually see through it, and it's got that almost like bathroom sealant on, which prevents it moving around. And it's very easy to adjust. You may be thinking, shock horror, oh, it's only a 2-pointer. Look, it's a 2-pointer, rubbish. No, it isn't, because in the pack you do get a third one which goes over the top of the skull. But it's quite interesting. It'll click in and out, which is cool. So you see you've got that quick release feature there. Let me just get this moth off my head here. Excuse me, sorry about that. Very unprofessional. Try to run a channel here. And then this is lightweight because it has like a waffle design in itself. So I really like it. So let's turn this out and we'll go through the modes. So I'm turning out the V2 on my head. So main button, if you click and hold, you get your modes. Now this is using the main emitters. So just to show you there, they're the main emitters. So let's see what we get here. Let's point it down here and try not to get killed by moths. Right. So there's low, which is 100 lumens. Pretty good. It's reaching across the other side of that river there. No problem. I could walk by that as well. Some people say, well, the purists will say, well, where's the really low? Where's the sub moonlight mode and sub lumen, 1 lumen? Well, you would use the auxiliary for that, or the red light. So I'll forgive them on this instance. So that is your low 100, and then it goes straight up to 400, which is pretty good. Let's see if that stretches out. It's going right across there. This is the main emitter, so it's 6,000 Kelvin they are claiming, but it's quite a nice emitter. And even though it's using multiple LEDs there, look, isn't that quite smooth? It's not a TIR. Look on the ground there. When I first saw this and it came out of the pack, I thought, oh no. It reminded me of where you get these cheap garbage lights for $5 on eBay and AliExpress, where they think, right, what do customers want? More lumens. How do I trick them? Put more LEDs on, get more on, get 50 on, and it looks better. And I wondered, have they just put loads on here? But they've actually done a good job. Even when I put that right down, can you see any of the geometry of how that's set up? I can't. I think that's brilliant. It's not until you get really, 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 really close. Even on there, I can hardly see it. I'd have to point it out. I think they've done a really good job. So even though it's not your traditional TIR, it smooths out lovely. So that's your 400 lumen, and then you go to high. There's 400. Brilliant. You get a massive long run time on that as well. So I'm really impressed. I think on the lowest you get something like 31 to 36 hours on the lowest. I mean, that's incredible. So let's see if it goes this way. We'll try and stretch out along here. Look, brilliant, no problem. That'll go right round that corner and across the river. There you go. Really like that. I really, really like the beam. It's wide and pushy at the same time without having to be like a traditional optic. I don't know how they've done it. They've really done a good job here. I'm impressed. I'm always impressed by the HC65s. I always try them and go, wow, I'm kind of in love with this one. So, okay, and then we'll go to the highest. So you have to double press. If I can do it properly, there you go. Right, that is turbo. 2,000 lumens. They are claiming you get 2 hours on that. And again, I haven't noticed any step downs on this. I mean, obviously it's a constant circuit, so there's no pulse width modulation here, so you're not going to get exactly this output for 2 hours. It's going to tail off, so just be aware of that. You know, you've got to be careful when you read these bits marketing blurb, but look at that, you can see right down the water. Okay, so what about the auxiliary mode? So let's hit the mode button. We'll come to something a little bit closer, so come to this rose bush here. So if we press the mode button, it goes to the low. Now that is something like 8 lumens. But you can see the colours are much nicer. I've done this in HDR 4K at the highest settings I can get away with on YouTube. So if you happen to have an HDR monitor with 10-bit colour, you will notice a difference. I mean, that's brilliant. I should put a histogram on really, but you know, the channel's complicated enough. But that's pretty good for just 8, and it's picking up the colours lovely. The browns, it's giving you a nice red in those browns. Beautiful, really, really nice light. And again, you'll see there's 2 in the middle firing there. You see them? Again, I can't notice that. I'm not looking at that saying, oh, there's an ugly pattern. I can't see it. So they've done an extremely good job with the TIR setup on here. But obviously to walk by, I wouldn't walk by that. See, I can just see the floor there. So there's my feet. I probably wouldn't, because I'd need to stretch out and don't want to twist an ankle, because I do night hiking and trail running at night and things like that. So what you can do is you can just press the power button and you go to your higher mode. So that's something like 40 lumens, I think, off the top of my head. I will double check that though. So if I'm wrong, stick that in the comments. Help me out. Help an old TrailTrek out here. So looking at this little old pump house building here. See the reds on the brick, beautiful how that's picking that out, and the browns. But up close, great, great. Really, really like that. Let's have a look at, I think there's a little water thing here there, so that's on the wet surface there. Beautiful. Very happy with that. And then you also have, so for mode again, you'll get the red light. Now, that's quite bright. You'll see that, and if I point it down at the floor, it's pretty good. There's my shoe again. I wouldn't walk by that. I would put it on mode 2. So if you press power, there's your brighter mode. I can walk by that. There, if that's pointing down, because some of them, like I've said this before, a lot of them are guilty where they'll have a red light mode, you stick it on your head, and by the time it reaches the floor, it's useless. Yes, you can use it for cooking and camping and going for a wee in emergencies, but that's about it. Or, you know, changing a light bulb in a power cut or whatever. Okay, so that's not going to stretch out though. So go back to the main mode. There's the main mode again. Wow. In fact, we'll come along here, and then what I'll do is, so to calibrate, I'll quickly run through some lights that I'm testing it out with. In fact, we'll compare it with a V2 because I've got it on my head. So look, that's turbo with this one. There, that's turbo. So look, that's going right down there. I can see right into the distance there. See that? So compare that. We'll turn that out and put that in my back pocket so I don't forget it. And then the V2's on my head. So if I turn that on, that's the low, medium, high. And then if we go to turbo on that, watch. There's turbo. So there's the V2 with a, now there is a step down on this one, but obviously instead of getting the 2000 lumens, you get, I think you may get a bit less. Is if I remember rightly, is this maybe 2000 at a push? It's definitely more than 1500. I mean, it's beautiful, nice, and it's a lovely TIR. I give this an extremely high mark. I think I give it 9 out of 10 because it was really good. And it's got the red light modes, which I think you double press for the red light mode, don't you? So if I double press there, so low red on the HC65 V2 on my head here, then you press it again and you get a higher mode. I would say that's maybe, it looks a tiny little bit brighter than the red mode on the UHE version there, a tiny bit, but the output isn't as good and doesn't last as long because there is a step down on this. So that's the Nitecore. So we'll turn that back on just so I can see what I'm doing. And then another light that I'm comparing it with, just for fun. I mean, it's a different design, it's an L type, but this is the Sofern HS41. You see that there? So bigger cell, 21700. They're claiming 4000 lumens on this. I don't know, I don't have a testing sphere, but I don't think that's probably right, because watch, I'll show you. Remember that UHE is 2000, so watch. Right, so there's no light, turn this on, and then we'll go to turbo. There, that's turbo. Is that 4000? Maybe initially for the first 10 to 20 seconds, but then I'm sure there's a drop. I don't know if that's reaching, maybe it's 3.5, maybe. It's a lovely light though, yeah, for the price. Some people were calling this a Perrin 2 killer, and I'm not so sure. It's a quad emitter using SST40s, and you are getting 4000 lumens, that's the claim. I would say probably about 3,500, but I can't prove that scientifically. But pretty nice though, look, nice beam on that. Quite tight and pushy for a TIR. Very usable though. and cheap, and it has a Type-C charging on the back, which is very, very handy. So another light that I am comparing it with, and I'll turn my headlamp on so I can show you. This was supposed to be a quick video, so I'm sorry, but as usual it's going to end up dead long. Sorry about that. Turn it up a bit. So Perrin 2, very similar to the last one, but it uses a singular emitter there, and it has like a proximity sensor at the top there. So if you leave it on and you push up too close, it's kind of quite intelligent. I thought it was gimmicky, but it does work. And if you come close to something, it lowers off, which kind of makes sense. And the button's nice, and the ramping's quite nice, and the knurling's quite interesting. It looks beautiful. I've used physically better knurling, but it looks beautiful, and it has magnetic charging through the base. Bear in mind though, you pay the Olight tax, and I'm not having to go to Olight, I'm just saying, I'm being realistic, you'll pay the Olight tax, so add probably 30-40% what you would have paid for other brands. And then of course you've got the proprietary cells, which cost 3 times more than what the other cells cost. Again, Olight tax, not having to go at them, that's just the facts. I do like Olight, and I own a lot of Olight, and they're really good. And they're very reliable. Bear in mind, this comes with a 5-year warranty. Okay, so let's turn the Perrin 2 on. So there it is on a low mode. Singular again, but watch. Double press, beautiful. I think that's a really, really nice beam. Extremely usable. Very, very nice UI. Look at that. Beautiful, beautiful. 21700 cell. Again, proprietary though, which is a little bit annoying, but you know, not the end of the world. Look at that. Fantastic. Let's look up into the canopy. Nice floody beam on that, and you've got a bit of push because of the power of it. So extremely good. I'm sure this is about 2,500 lumens. Beautiful. Really, really like that. So that's something I'm comparing it to. You've got your mag charge in there, which is pretty good, instead of your sort of Type-C plugging straight into the side. So another one that I am comparing it with, I'll just turn this back on so I can show you. HC65, old school. This is the V1. It's not called V1, but this is where it all started. So look, it's still going. Look, the paint is chipping off, you see. But this had a different setup. So it had a smooth reflector there with your Cree XML, I think it was at the time. 1000 lumens max. Excellent light though, but it's outpaced. It's become a victim of time now, and we're moving on to higher outputs and more efficiency. 18650 again though, and you get the cell with it. And then you have your auxiliary there. It's even got a little sort of like touch mode and everything, and you can get it to flash out the battery capacity. But beautiful. So nothing on that one, and then singular button. So you're probably thinking, well, how on earth do you do all those functions with a singular button? Dead easy. Watch this. So the UI is different from the V2 and the UHE. So what you do is, if you press it, you get your main beam, and then you can half press to go through the mode. So then half press, half press, low, medium, high, low, medium, high. And then if you press and hold, you get your red light mode, you see it there. And then you can go through. You've got a flashing one as well. Not very bright. It's good. It is a good light though. It is a good light though. But I'd prefer to have 2 red light modes. So you've got a bit more push. And then if you half press and hold, you get your auxiliary. You see, it's just using the little light. See it there? Not the main beam at the bottom there. So again, nice. Okay for camping. And I have used this on night watches and things like that. It works. It's pretty good for walking by. It's good. And then back to your main beam. So pretty good. 18650 though, only around 1000 output. So a victim of time, isn't it? You know, it's had its day, put it that way. So another thing that I am looking at will be, and I'll compare it with, if I can get it out, turn that on, boom, boom, is the, basically, well, I would say it wasn't a knockoff, but it was a copy of the HC65 at the time, and it's the Woburn H1, so it almost looks the same as well. You had the main smooth emitter there. This happened to use a luminous, no, it was an Osram P9 emitter. So again, 1200 lumens, so technically slightly more than the old original Nitecore. And then your auxiliary light there and red light. So kind of similar, but cheaper, much cheaper, and the cells were cheaper as well. So I recommended this to a load of fishermen, and they loved it, because they thought that the price on the Nitecore was a bit silly. And you've got your charging on the side there, so brilliant, another excellent light. And I think that's it. So if we turn this out, and we'll go back to the light I'm supposed to be talking about. There you go. Right, let's have a look at it. So let's sum up. HC65, they're not calling it the V3, but it really is the V3, because it's the UHE, ultra high efficiency. In other words, they're using their own emitters. You've got this massive emitter array there, or they're calling it a matrix, which actually works really good. I think they've done an extremely good job. I'm very happy with it so far. These are just my early thoughts. The two auxiliaries are very high CRI, so they look beautiful, and they've got 2 modes there. Really good. Red light's got 2 modes as well. Dead simple. It's IP68, in other words, waterproof, not water resistant. Proper waterproof. 2 meters drop rating. I'm extremely happy with it so far, and you can 3-point attach it if you want, because it comes with that. So full review when I get time. If you've got any questions, put them down below. I'll turn this off and I'll show you the beam again. So if you click and hold, there's your main beam on low, medium, high. Look at that. Let's have a look down to the water there. Beautiful. And if we put it on turbo, if I can get it, there you go, turbo. Beautiful. Get 2 hours on that. I'll give you all the run times with the proper review when I've got time. That's incredible looking around there. Really, really nice, usable beam. Beautiful. Okay, so any questions, put them down below. I'm really happy with this so far. I think, as usual, Nitecore have done an HC65 that I really like. So thank you for joining me. With that, I'm sorry to have waffled so long. In fact, if you think this is long and you haven't seen any of my reviews, you ain't seen nothing yet, as the song says. Anyway, good night. Let's turn this out.